Is neurodiversity a curse or a blessing? Let's talk about it. Hello, Thunderhawke Coaching, Will here. Today we're going to talk about neurodiversity. Is it a gift or is it a curse? Let's talk about it. So, the way I want to frame this today, and the way, a little disclaimer from the outset. I am dyslexic. I'm neurodiverse, okay? That's just how my brain's put together. So when I say this, I say it from a place of lived experience in one dimension of a broad spectrum. So when I say neurodiversity, I'm talking about autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia. Those are the major kind of brain differences I'm talking about here. So, I think the challenge of talking about this is the spectrum's really wide, right? So, I have a lot of relationships professionally and personally, as a coach, but also in a lot of other roles in my life with neurodiverse individuals. We kind of gravitate towards each other. A lot of what I do in my coaching is working with neurodiverse people. And I think something that comes up a lot, I feel, is kind of what's wrong with me? Why am I like this? I can't accept how I am, right? And I worked with, some of the more extreme ends of autism, for example, where they're like non-verbal and they're can be physically aggressive because of miscommunications in the brain. And I've worked with, I hate this, but milder presentations, less socially challenging presentations of autism, and ADHD and dyslexia and etc., right? So this full spectrum is very different for everyone. So when I talk about whether or not it's a gift or a curse, the criteria might look a little different for you. That's okay. It's a spectrum, right? But I guess the thing I want to highlight here is even in the extreme cases that are really, really tough for all the loved ones associated with said individual, there are like interesting differences that I think we can learn from different kinds of neurodiversity that we would not see through our own kind of prism of neurotypicalness, right? I'm not neurotypical, right? But from what I understand of the neurotypical experience, I think there's a lot we can learn from the different angles that neurodiverse minds pick up on that normal minds don't, right? And I guess I'm going to start with autism because I find autism really, really interesting. And I feel that information is processed very differently in the autistic mind. Also, I have a few other quarrels with the label itself because it represents such a huge range of presentations, from the completely mute to the social variant of autism, which does exist, but it's just not understanding social cues at all. And this condition of autism, I think there's some really invaluable qualities that I feel I see across a lot of these individuals. I think their attention to detail, even though in my experience with people with autism sometimes can be crippling and crushing from an anxiety point of view, that attention to detail is amazing. I think that there's a lot that we can all learn from in the rigidity of the mind of somebody who has an autism diagnosis, because while in my experience a lot of people with autism have kind of this black and white thinking where they think this is also a common presentation for people with other mental health conditions, but this black and white thinking can actually make them very systematic in how they approach problems and understand the world, and improve their ability to iterate on problems and challenges in front of them. And I think that's really worth valuing and talking about. I also think about ADHD. I think about the ADHD mind because in reality, the ADHD mind gathers a lot of information quickly and acts on it quickly. And the attention in somebody with ADHD is often, they feel it's often really difficult for them to manage that attention. Some psychiatrists believe that's because of a deficiency in the frontal lobe, the prefrontal cortex that regulates our ability to do the executive functioning thing, where we go, well, I have this bit of information, and this information connects to this step, this connects to that, and that's all a bit kind of subconscious, right? That's very cognitively intensive for somebody with ADHD. Similarly with autism too. But because that's challenging, they can like hyperfixate and hyperfocus like nobody else, and they can learn a ton about their special interest, and they can share loads of information about it you never even thought existed. I've had clients sit down with me and school me on different types of dinosaurs and different types of bionicles and different types of psychological theories I'd never even heard of, and different types of dogs, and very interesting specific information about trains. All cool, right? Like, if we didn't have these kinds of people around, how would the really specific detailed work and innovation, right? Because you need to be really specifically detailed to like pick up discrepancies in systems and ideas and then iterate on those and give an interesting variation that could improve something. Like, for example, somebody on the autism spectrum could notice that there was something off about the design of a train versus somebody who's neurotypical and isn't as emotionally invested in the design of train systems and transportation in the same way that somebody with autism might. These are all averages. Your mileage may vary. You might only know the autism type where they yell and they scream and they can't speak, and some would certainly feel that's more of a curse, right? But I think what I'm trying to really highlight here is that difference is good. If you're different, that's good. It's helpful for everyone around you. Some people are going to be better at some things than you are, and you're going to be better at some things than other people are. And sometimes you're going to suck at washing regularly, and people, they find that really frustrating and challenging. You might be really good at a really specific piece of programming and system design. That's really awesome too. And I think in neurodiversity, I think of the kind of architects of our future in a lot of ways. I really feel like a lot of innovators, a lot of creative thinkers, a lot of people that think outside the box dump all of their brain stats into abstract ideas that help them construct different ways of imagining the world. And I think that's beautiful. I think we need people like that to dream of a better tomorrow. If we don't have that, how are we going to get better as a society? I'm pretty convinced a lot of scientifically minded individuals would test well on the ADHD, autism, some kind of neurodiversity, right? And that can be a profound asset in understanding how you can regulate some of the differences your brain works so that you can point more in the direction of what matters to you, right? I think that's profoundly important. But I am not going to discount the downsides and frustrations and despair that a lot of people feel with the differences in how their minds work. And our environments make that worse, my friends. YouTube makes that worse. If you are neurospicy, I'm not going to say this is a stat, 'cause it's not a stat, but I've seen in my anecdotal practice and in my own life, if you are neurodiverse, social media will eat your brain up and chew it out, because it gives you everything the neurodiverse brain hungers for. Information, in obsessive quantities, down to the really specific hyperfixation that you're on and that point, right? It creates your own little bubble and it pulls you in there and it doesn't let you out for nothing, right? And some might argue that's part of the rise of neurodiversity. I would argue it's just a better understanding. I think there's always been people that are clearly, by the standards we understand now, autism and ADHD and dyslexia and dyscalculia and dyspraxia. If we put those to people of the history, I think a lot of them would meet criteria. I think that the amount of people would receive a diagnosis historically, if we had this kind of understanding, would be a lot higher. And I think that's part of the reason the diagnoses are going up. I think that's a great thing. So, in summary, it's a blessing if you know how to channel it right. But none of us know how to. That's kind of where I come in. So, I have a lot of experience helping neurodiverse people. I do the whole coaching thing. And it's a bit more focused and more practical and more concrete in a way that neurodiverse brains can resonate with. Which is why I have a lot of long-term clients, because they like consistency and they also like how concrete and adapted it is to their needs versus conventional therapy, though conventional therapy is also very valuable. So if you need some help with that, link in the description to my website. Let's have a talk. But you've been wonderful. I've been Thunderhawke Coaching, Will. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.